Greetings, viewers, and welcome to another edition. Wait. I'm not Jay Crow. He's usually the host of Slacker Symposium, but let's start over again. Hey, yo, viewers. This is Jar, Ox, and Spoon. This is Slacker Symposium, a special edition of this here series we have on this channel. We're going to talk about the art of being swept. Is it an art? I don't know. Is it? But we have three lovely guests here. Actually, you're not a guest, Mrs. Spoon.
I'm a panel contributor, though.
Yeah, you are.
I'm literally in my own home, though, but panel contributor.
Yes, you are. You're just mere feet away from me, or meters if you're using the metric system in your country. But I'd like to introduce these special guests right below me on the screen. I don't know if it's below you on the screen in this recording. We have Kelly, and you are a fellow Texan, aren't you?
I am at the moment. Yes, I'm down in San Antonio these days.
San Antonio. What is your favorite thing to eat in San Antonio? This is unscripted, not in the questions.
Tacos.
You can't go wrong. You could ask 100 people your favorite taco in San Antonio, and you'll get 105 answers. So many, even just within a stone's throw of where I live. That is good. So next time I go down there, now it's like when you go down there, it's not hard shell taco. It's usually like a homemade corn tortilla.
That's so good.
I haven't eaten dinner yet. I also a quick follow-up question about Texas life for Kelly. Kelly is also training for Dopey. How are your long runs going in San Antonio weather?
Well, I'm going to be really honest. I was very silly this last weekend for our 7-miler and forgot to take hydration with me. So it was not a great run once I was out far enough that I couldn't get to my apartment to grab my water. So the heat was not my favorite, I will say. I've given up and put my 45-minute training runs on the treadmill to be safer.
Kelly, you did a little better than me. You forgot your hydration. I forgot there was a 7-miler. So there we have it.
Approximately 0 miles run in the Lindsay Spoon household. So you are way ahead of us.
7 painful dehydrated miles in.
You did it. Also, we have from the great state of Colorado, who we saw at the Boulder 10-miler. No, that was not a 10 mile. That was a 10K.
10K. Yeah, 10K.
Saw her at the beginning of the race or before the race. We have Fish Fan Faith, as J. Crow would call it.
Kind of, sort of, not to the J. Crow level. Like I've gone and seen them, I've listened to them, but I'm definitely not to the J. Crow level of Fish Fan. But
you're healthy about it.
I'm healthy about it. I'm sorry, Jerry.
You haven't seen them 100 times plus?
No. Not quite there. But, I think it's really cool that people do that. I think it's a thing that people do, and that's okay. And so, yes, Justin, go see all the fish shows.
Some people spend thousands of dollars to run hundreds of miles dressed in costumes, and Disney World is grown-ups.
Really, they do. Some people do that. I don't really know why or who, but that's okay.
No, their entire wardrobe is run Disney
shirts. Yes, run shirts.
And you are the final kind of guest, but regular on this channel. Waving. Introduce yourself.
I am Lynn's Spoon, which is not my name on Instagram. I need to change it because Spoon is now my new last name. It's not my real last name, but I am the lucky spouse of Mr. Jar, Ox, and Spoon. And I believe I have PR'd and being swept from out of everyone in here. I've been swept twice from runDisney races and finished 33 others. So I feel like I'm a bit of an expert on this topic of what it's like to be swept, how it's actually not that big of a deal and you shouldn't be afraid of it. And that's why we're here today, because people are getting a little stressed out about their dopey training. Am I right? People are getting a little worried, and I want people to not worry. I want people to have fun. What was that?
we're really not thinking too hard about the actual end date yet. No, it makes me too nervous.
There is a lot of Run Disney content on this channel. So as people that are working towards upcoming Run Disney races, let's just give our brief history on our Run Disney race origin. How many races have you done? What's your favorite? All kinds of things like that. Let's start with you, Kelly.
Okay, so let's see. I first heard about Run Disney back in 2012. I was visiting Disney in January with my parents because, that's slow season. And we're walking around Disney Springs and there's all these people with medals hanging around their neck. And we were like, what's going on? So I had not ever run races per se. Prior to that, I always had sort of in the back of my mind that I wanted to do a marathon, which hopefully Dopey is going to be my marathon completion this coming January. And so I looked into it and found out about it. And then a couple of years later, I convinced a friend to do Princess 2016 was my first full half marathon. And that's sort of how I got started. And then I had to take a couple of years off in there. And then I've started again in the last year and a half with Dopey being my ultimate goal for this year.
Well, I hear there's a great YouTube channel that tells you how to train for Dopey really well.
I've heard about that as well.
Yeah, Coach Heather Jerkin.
Well, also that. Yes. So you got to have, if you watch our tips on how to train for Dopey, you got to have like an HJ chaser. Be like, this is what you should do. All right, Faith, but then what's your origin story?
Well, interestingly enough, also around 2012, 2013, I saw a medal that a coworker had brought in with a giant Tinkerbell on it. It was a Tinkerbell medal from Disneyland after she had gone there. And I was like, what is this thing? And how do I get it? And she said, you go to Disneyland and run a half marathon. And I was like, okay, that's not happening. So, so I shelved it and kind of moved forward. And then in the summer of 2018, my husband came home from work and he ran. I did not. I said, hey, someone at work asked if I want to go do this Star Wars half marathon at Disney World. Smart man knew that once he said those words, we were going. Like there was no, like it was happening. I love Disney. We're going to go. I think it took maybe 24 hours before I found the Run Disney website, Jeff Galloway and Res Runs, AKA Gerald, and had decided I was doing the 5K and the 10K. He did all three. So 2019 Star Wars was our first Run Disney. We came back for Wine and Dine. My sister joined me for the 10K. Her and I did the Anna and Elsa thing. And my husband went as Olaf as a puddle. And so we did that. We signed up for Star Wars 2020. Wah, wah. We signed up for Wine and Dine 2020. We signed up for Star Wars again in 2021. And no go. So I ended up having a conference in 2021 last year, and the 5K fit in. So I went and it was so crazy. I was at this expo and I look across the hall and I see this group of people that looks really familiar. And so I ran over and completely embarrassed myself by saying hello to 4/5 of the Slacker team plus Long Runs and Liquor, whose name I couldn't remember. It's an amazing name. I should have remembered. I followed that up with Princess 5K with a couple of friends. And then my husband and I did Springtime Surprise, all three races in 2022. So that is where we've landed now. So our favorites seem to be the spring and the fall races. We haven't made it to marathon yet. That's kind of maybe down the road, but yeah.
Oh, I love these Run Disney origin stories. And I do deeply love like meeting the two of you in not the same weekend. Because Kelly, I met during Princess, and Faith, we met during Wine and Dine. So like those were our core memory moments when Faith, you came and we hugged. I don't remember if I initiated the hug or if you did. It was probably me if we're gonna
I'm a hugger too, so yeah.
And then like having Kelly show up in the middle of the 10K, link above, there's video footage of it. It's just, I love this, guys. It's fun having thoughts and feelings.
Yay.
What are your thoughts and feelings, Mr. Spoon?
Those are good thoughts and feelings of the whole Run Disney thing, because Run Disney literally changed my life.
Literally.
It's true.
What we're talking about is being swept in a Run Disney race, and everyone here is wearing the apparel from the race they were swept from. the race weekend.
Two different races. Yes.
And then this was, I was not swept from the Princess Half Marathon link above, but there are times when if I would be okay with it because it was so hot that day. And these were long sleeves at the beginning of the race. I went to a medical tent and to cut the sleeves off. And I could only run as long as my body temperature was regulated. And that wasn't very long. So it was very uncomfortable. I was wearing pleather pants also. But this is the race, probably the toughest Run Disney race, even counting the 2022 marathon, 2020 marathon, all of that. So I guess that says a lot about the conditions of that race. But let's dive into the content today. So tell us about the race you were swept. What race was it? What were the factors leading up to it? And just give us your thoughts and feelings about what happened. Let's start with Faith this time.
Right. Well, I was swept at mile 7 of the 10-miler, Tower of Terror 10-miler back at Springtime Surprise. I have not run half marathons. I had not run a 10-miler before. My first half marathon was supposed to be Star Wars 2020. I did train pretty well for it, and I did do it at home. I did actually all 3 races at home on my own. I had a very, very not so great time on my half, but I did it. I actually walked for the full 7 miles, the last 7 miles, and had a really gnarly blister at the end, but I did it. And in Colorado, weather is weird. It was April. I started off, I had some sunshine, I had some rain, I had some sleet, all during the same run. So that was kind of interesting, just a weird thing that happened that morning.
And you didn't have oxygen. We have run in Colorado. There's not enough oxygen.
Well, I'm kind of used to it now, but it is when you first come out here, and if you come out to visit for a few days, the oxygen thing it is real. Don't come out here to run a marathon like the next day. I think that would be kind of crazy. Well, I'm sure people do it. So, but anyway, so I'd signed up for the Springtime Surprise. I don't even remember when we signed up. What was it, October or something? And I had made a plan and had it all laid out of what I was going to do. I had a lot of travel going on, some training stuff, and but I had a plan. But you know how plans are, and plans are just disrupted quite often by many things. Mine was disrupted by the big sea bug in December, and some family stressors. My daughter being moved from Hawaii to Europe. She's in the Army. So that was kind of a big stressor. So there's a lot of stressors. 4 weeks before the race, though, I kind of was like, all right, I only got 4 weeks left. I've done some training. I'm okay. I don't know if I'm going to make it in the 10-miler, but I'm going to do the best I can. And so I kind of kicked it up a little bit, knew that I could do the distance, didn't know if I could do that in the time required. So got to the weekend, the 10K. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about how hot and gross and humid that 10K.
Oh, that was bad.
Very bad. Very bad. Add in the fact that I did not sleep the night before because I had a bout of insomnia. And that was the only really bad part about that race was the humidity and my insomnia, because it was my birthday, by the way.
Yes. And your husband wore a shirt, right?
Yeah, he wore a shirt that said it's her birthday. I started off the race with a sash and a cute set of ears. Mile in, they were gone. There was just, I would have taken more off if I could. It was horrible in that respect, but everybody on the course was wishing me a happy birthday. Talked to this really nice guy for like a mile on the boardwalk. I don't know why he just chose me. He just talked and walked with us, or walked and talked with us. Got to see J. Crows and MK and Jez, and that was awesome. And they were my first official character stop, even though I didn't get a picture. And so I got to see them. At the end of the race, when we were coming around, there was a big group of cast members that wished me a happy birthday. I cried. The commentators said it, all the whole things. That was really great. I think it was the first race I cried in. It was just so special and sweet. But I also felt at the end some stitches in my calves, and I knew that I was probably dehydrated. So insomnia, dehydration, all that stuff. Spent all day Saturday doing all the things, nutrition, walking a little bit here and there, water, like all the things I needed to do to make sure I'd be as good as possible for the 10 miler. And that night thinking, I'll go to sleep. Surely I've not slept. Oh no, insomnia bug came again. And I slept for maybe an hour. I woke up, I was completely exhausted. And so we got there though. I got to the start line. I did all my stuff and my visualizations, my be positive, but I had 3 goals. I told my husband, I said, I have 3 goals. I want to get through Hollywood Studios. I want to see, go through Galaxy's Edge and, do all of that. I want to get past the 10K mark because at that point I'd only raced up to a 10K, right? Like I had never done more than a 10K. And so in a race, so it was like past the 10K part, there is goal number 2. And of course, number 3 was finish the race, which felt at that point like, not sure if this is going to happen. I made it very clear to him that he could not stay with me because he was kind of pushing against that a little bit. And I said, no, you are not going to not finish when they pass me, because I think it might happen. You're going to go with the balloon ladies and I will text you when I'm swept, because I didn't know what all the process would be. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we got through Hollywood Studios. We got on that 3-mile stretch between Hollywood Studios and Epcot. I mean, my goodness, who came up with that idea? And so we're cruising along and we got passed by and I tried running a couple of times. By that point, I could not run. Like my brain was like, you can do this. And my body was going, yeah, no, there's nothing there. The last Galloway pace group passed us. My husband said, do you want to just try? And I'm like, oh, okay, let me try. They were running like 30 seconds or something intervals. And man, I got halfway through that interval. I could feel the cramping again in my legs. I'm like, okay, I'm still dehydrated. My legs are just done. There is no running. I said, this is not happening. Went ahead and I said, they're really close to us behind us, aren't they? And he turned around and he goes, they are. I said, all right, you need to get stuff together. So balloon ladies passed us, and there was a part where you kind of zig back and forth. And before you got up to the 7 miles marker, and the balloon ladies went ahead. My husband went up with them. I had his stuff and a little bag. And he told me that when he got up there, one of them said, it said something about me. And he said, yeah. And she said, she's going to be fine. And he said, she told me I had to go ahead. She goes, and then you should. If that's what she wants you to do, you need to do that. He said they were very nice. He chatted with them until I was swept. But the weirdest thing for me was there was 2 ladies who were kind of in front of me. We were kind of together, but they were a little ahead. And at that point, there was nobody behind me. And the eeriest feeling, you're on this highway and there's like nobody. I mean, there's the bike people, but there's no people. There's no like real chatter. That was really eerie and weird. But I kind of played some head games with myself during that time. The bike people were very nice. I will say that. They're very kind. They're very encouraging. They asked me if I wanted to stop. And I said, no. I said, I'm going to go until you tell me I have to get off this course. Like I will go all the way to mile 10 if you let me. I said, but you're going to have to take me off. Mm-hmm. And so he went on. Another one stayed with me. And I just kept on walking, just kept on going. And went through all those things in my head about, not finishing, not being done, not getting to that final spot. And I looked up and I saw the 7 mile marker and it hit me. I had just done 7 freaking miles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, not only did I do 7 miles, but the day before I did a 10K.
Yeah.
And 2 days before that, basically that walk from the bus to the corrals for the 5K, we did a 5K. Cut the corners all you want. We still did it. And so to me, I'm like 16 out of 19 miles I did. What am I mad about? What am I frustrated about? So it just was like this feeling, right? And so one of the bike people said, hey, I can't see the balloon ladies any longer. So you are officially swept. And she said, up ahead, there's a security guard, police officer, whoever he was, with another woman. And she said, that's where you're going to stop. And I think she said, I'm sorry, because I remember looking at her going, I'm fine. I did 7 miles today. And I was kind of like, there's nothing to be sorry about. And I turned around, I waited, and all of a sudden here comes 2 buses. And on the side, I don't know if your guys have said this, it says parade route. Yes. I don't know why that made me laugh that on the buses it says parade route. But so they pulled up and I got on, and the other lady and I got on. They were so kind, gave us masks because we were still masking, water, offered Powerade, checked to see if I needed anything medical. I didn't. And I was fine. We picked up the 2 girls who were in front of me and another couple. Everyone was pretty quiet for the most part. We got to the end. They dropped us off. And where they drop you off, I mean, again, everybody's so kind, so friendly. They're like, here's your medal, here's some water, here's this, here's that. And then you're right with all the other runners. And so that was totally fine. And I got out of there and I still had some of that sadness and some of the stuff going on. Knew I had about 20 minutes till my husband came. So I just sat, kind of ate my banana, thought about it. I didn't put my medal on at first. I remember I was just holding it and I'm eating my banana. And then at some point I just kind of was like, why am I not putting this on? Like, yeah. I have achieved something. I can be proud of this. And I put it on. And after that, I think I was okay. I think I even took a picture of myself and like posted it on social media because I was like, I'm going to admit it. I was swept. And that was that. And my husband got there shortly after. We went and got our post race drinks like we always do, and went and showered and went to Epcot that day. I mean, we did all the normal stuff we did. I just didn't wear my medal that day because I didn't quite feel that comfortable wearing it all day. The other thing we didn't do is we didn't do the I did it pictures. He doesn't care. And I wasn't ready for that. I did take a picture later with it though. So that's kind of my sweep story.
It made me feel so many thoughts and feelings. I love your take on it. I also love, Jared and I have had the conversation, like, let's be clear, unless one of us is in medical distress, like if one of us gets swept, so far it's only been me, like you got to charge on, like, don't take, that's just the agreement. And that the part about the balloon lady telling your husband that you were going to be okay. Aww.
Yeah, she was so sweet. And I don't know which one it was. I know there were 2 of them for that race. And I feel like she told him that she was originally from Indiana and they had a conversation about that. That just is, I should have asked him when he was in here a little bit ago, but I feel like that was another, like he chatted with them for a little bit. So he said they were very nice and yeah, so that was all good. He ran Epcot, said it was, okay. And he was ready for a beer afterwards. So.
Yeah. And just again, to emphasize what you said, you ran, was it 15 out of 18 miles or 16 out of 19?
16 out of 19, 16 out of 19 miles. So
that's amazing.
That was kind of my feelings too, is just the more I thought about it, the more it just hit me. How many people that morning outside of all the people at RunDisney had ran 7 miles that morning? I mean, how many people I knew? None. Like most of them were still in bed. So yeah. And again, not to be comparison, because it's not about comparing, but it's just more of 7 miles is a lot. Like, it's not a small amount of miles. It is a lot of miles. So yeah.
So that was the largest amount of miles you've run in a race.
Yeah. So 7 miles is the most I've run in an actual race. I had done 10Ks. I'd done 5Ks. I'd done the half marathon at home, but not for like a real, like, get a medal, wear a shirt, go to the race kind of thing. So yeah. So the plan is to maybe do that next year. So there's some potential there. So
I'm excited for that. I'm excited for you. And I love your attitude. That's why we're like, we got to get these cool people on.
All right, Kelly.
I was going to call on Kelly. I'm like, am I allowed to call on people? Kelly, what's your story?
Okay, so let's see. I got swept during the half marathon at Princess in 2022. So this past February. So I had signed up for all the races as soon as they became available, right? I'd done this before and I knew I wanted to start again. I'd been watching videos over 2020 and whatnot. Of course, I'd signed up for things and then 2020 happened and all of the races went away. So as soon as everything opened up, I signed up for what I could get to. I wasn't able to do Wine and Diner Marathon weekend because I had just moved and I knew that wasn't going to work out. But I signed up for Princess. I was ready to go. And then I re-injured my hip. So I have an old hip injury that it flares up regularly. I shouldn't say regularly, occasionally, if I don't pay enough attention. And with the move and everything, I wasn't stretching appropriately and doing everything else. So I re-irritated my hip and had to go into PT. And then it spun off into a couple of things because we didn't catch it fast enough. So in January of 2022, I was just barely cleared at the tail end of January to start walking more than a mile again. So at that point, I'd already paid for the races. I already was signed up for them. I had everything to go, and you don't get any refunds or anything unless you've got real special circumstances and you can finagle something on the phone. So I decided I was just going to go and we'll see what we could do. So I made it through the 10K okay because I was signed up for the challenge. And that's where I got to see Lynn's Reed, which I believe I yelled awkwardly from behind you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's Lynn's Reed, who very nicely stopped and turned around to see who was yelling for her.
Very awkwardly was like, oh, who knows my name?
On the up ramp coming out of FI, if I remember. So we chatted and got through the 10K, and the 10K was good. I felt okay after the 10K. I made sure to do all my stretching and everything. But I already knew that I was going to get swept. I was pretty positive because even the 10K, after not having been able to do more than a mile only a month before, I knew was probably kind of pushing it. I had gotten approval from my PT to try this. I want to be clear. I did not break the doctor's orders. My PT essentially said, do what you can. Don't hurt yourself. If you hurt yourself, we're going to have to start all over again. So don't push it. And I said, okay, good, got it. So I woke up on the morning of the half knowing that I was probably going to get swept. I actually didn't feel well. I was pretty close to pulling myself out of the corrals, in fact, because I had some stomach issues. I was just not feeling well. Luckily, I had a very, very sweet friend from my online running group, the Run Princess family, who's in the corrals with me. And she said, hey, listen, all you got to do is step off. She said, as long as you pass the finish or the start line, they're going to give you your medal. You get to, you can complete it later if you want to. So just make it to the first medical tent. I don't think it's even a mile away. So I said, yeah, all right. Okay. She got me to step off. So I made it to the 10K mark before my leg was just not having it. So yeah, I was very pleased with myself. However, for those who don't know, for the Princess Half Marathon, the 10K mark comes just after you go through Magic Kingdom. Now, while running through Magic Kingdom is very, very amazing and magical, and it's fantastic. It is also small. And when you're towards the back of the pack, and a lot of people are sort of all crammed in there, it does get a little bit stressful. So like I said, I knew I was getting swept. I had no plans to make it for the full half marathon because my leg was starting to hurt so badly. But I will say everyone cramming through and then trying to race through ahead of the balloon ladies was a bit of a stressful situation because they caught up just behind the castle. So it's small in Magic Kingdom, and then it's even smaller going through that castle walkthrough. So that part was a little stressful. We made it out. And then I pushed through. I made it to the 6.2 10K flag that they had up. And at that point, I turned around and limped back to the bus and they said, you can't come this way. I said, no, I need to be swept. And they said, oh, are you sure you're getting swept? I said, I am positive I'm getting swept. And so they showed me to the bus. And like I said, at that point, I was limping pretty heavily. I actually spent most of the ride back on the bus, sort of flamingoed on one leg because they couldn't put all my weight down on my left leg at the time.
Oh, no.
But they were very nice. They made sure that I was not fully injured, right? Like so injured that we needed to get medical help for me. And they made sure they got me on the first bus that was going to leave so that I didn't have to try and stand around on my leg for too long. And then like they said, they take you back, you get dropped off in the finishers area. They give you your snack box, your medal and everything. And everyone is very, very nice. Everyone checked on me. Everyone made sure that I was good as well as everyone else. In my case, there was 2 buses because it's a big sweet point for Princess right after
that makes
Magic
sense.
Kingdom.
Yeah.
So 2 buses were full. They have, drinks and other things on there in case you need anything. And it was actually a fairly lighthearted atmosphere on both my buses. After the stress of Magic Kingdom itself, it seemed like everyone was sort of like, yep, okay, I made it through the castle. I got the shot I wanted. We're all good. If I get swept from here, we're fine. And like I said, I'd done the 10K before. So really, I ended up doing about 12.4 miles across the 2 days. And then I actually, once I went home, or back to the hotel. I stretched, I napped, I rehydrated, I did all that jazz. I went out and joined my parents who were there at the same time, and ended up sort of wandering around Epcot at a much slower than race pace, and actually hit 13.1 on my tracker for the entire day anyway. So I just tell myself I did an extended half marathon. But yeah, so I wear that medal with pride, and I was very pleased about it. And like I said, my group from the Run Princess family was really great. They were all very supportive. They all just said, yeah, no, it's good. You don't want to hurt yourself. And they're right. And because of that, I was actually able to come back and finish my first challenge at Springtime Surprise, because I did pull back. I didn't force myself to try and do longer. And as Jorox and Spoon mentioned, it was very hot. So I was not too sad between the pain in my leg and the heat that was starting to pick up to get swept at the 6.2 mile mark. Yeah. So that's my sweeper story.
You did so much more than I could ever do. I've been blessed that I haven't had to deal with pain. I've had to deal with other stuff, but never pain issues. I mean, Jorox and Spoon, how far do you think you'd make it on a hip injury?
I didn't have any injury during that same race. And that was, I don't know how much I actually ran during that race. Of course, like when you watch the video, it looks like I ran a lot, but there's the magic of editing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, Faith, you said that you walked 7 miles of your virtual half, and in my head I'm thinking, pretty sure Jared walked at least 7 miles of the princess half.
Oh, there have been like halves that I think, like Skyline half marathon, Link Above, which is like the worst race I've ever run. That was at least 7 miles walked, because it's like no way I'm running into this. Like I might die. Like
yes. Really. That race did not have sweepers that we were aware of, but also like if you had passed out from heat stroke, no one would have known. Like it was so unwell supported. It was like you had to keep moving forward for your life.
And the funny part about it, like you would think like, where is this race, in some remote area of Texas? No, Dallas, Texas.
Dallas. We expect better.
Yes. Yeah. It's only like the 4th largest metro area in the United States. Maybe-ish, something like that.
I'm like smiling so much because both of these are bringing back so many happy sweep memories from some which are recent. And should I just dive in now, Jorox?
Dive in.
Would you like to invite me? I've been swept from 2 Disney races, both marathons. So I was swept from the 2020 marathon and the 2022 marathon. Nice cupcake, bud. Is it good?
Chiplet.
From Silo's Baking Co. in Waco.
Yeah, from Joanna Gaines. I don't know if you ever heard of her. Upcoming, fixer-upper home thing, and also bake delicious cupcakes.
Come to our house, make it look pretty. So 2020 marathon was my very first marathon attempt at all. It was the longest distance I'd ever tried for. For that marathon, I used the Galloway method. I did not have any big life snags. Like in general, I did the training pretty much like to the letter. I didn't do the full simulation of marathon weekend. I ran 24 miles as my longest training.
That 26 miles looks like a really long training run.
No, I'm not doing that. I knew I was going to do it later, but it's like, I'm going to do that in 3 weeks. Why do I need to do if I can do 24, I can make it to 26. So I did the whole thing. I think I'm in better shape now, but I was very well trained. I was doing personal training, doing all the miles. Marathon 2020, as now, if you go to any Run Disney race for now, that's the current bar of heat. It feels like, although Princess Half Marathon 2022 was very close to, I think, eradicating the Marathon 2020 bar of, at least it wasn't as hot as blank. Because I think Princess Half Marathon 2022 might have nearly eradicated the marathon bar. But for most people, if you ask them about a Run Disney race, they will say, at least it wasn't as hot as Marathon 2020, because that race was hot. And like pretty much every race I run, I started near the very back, not with the balloon ladies, as I have started in other races, link above recently, very nearly with the balloon ladies at springtime 10K. But I only started a few minutes ahead of the balloon ladies and kept my paces just fine on the 2020 marathon course. And then when the sun came out and it was so brutally hot, Jared ran this race too, and he finished it like a champ. I mean, I was a champ too. That's the whole point of this. But I think at mile 15, I was able to do the math, and because I just had to not run any of my intervals. I'm an interval runner, and it was just too hot to run on the intervals. It was just like, I had never felt my body feel that way. Of just that total, like I think Faith, you said it, like my head was saying, now you run. And my body was saying, nope, you'll get heat stroke. So I didn't. So at like mile 15, I calculated it and I was like, okay, so I'm going to get swept. Like I did the math. I knew how far away they were behind me. So I'm just going to like enjoy this and have fun with it. Cause I know I only have about 5 miles left. So let's make the most of these last 5 miles. So my pictures, yeah. Well, and by that point, it was the last 5 miles for me were mostly, the only exciting part was Animal Kingdom. So my pictures in Animal Kingdom are awesome. I look amazing. If I say that humbly, but I look happy because I'm like, I know this is gonna be over soon. This is a terrible hot race. I know it's gonna happen. And sure enough, after Animal Kingdom, I think slightly before the mile 20 marker was when the balloon ladies actually passed me closer to before mile 19, and I went another, I wasn't looking that closely, but I went pretty far after the balloon ladies passed me, because as viewer can all tell, you don't get swept immediately after the balloon ladies pass you. It all depends on how far away you are from the next batch of parade buses. And I happen to be sort of far from the next batch of parade buses. So so I got swept, and I still talk about that. You have never seen a happier group of people than those people at the Marathon 2020 sweeper bus at around mile 20. Like there is a guy standing there greeting you. He had a cooler of Powerade. All of these miserably hot runners are like, I just ran 20 miles. Like, who cares about the last 6? I'm sitting on an air-conditioned bus. I am happy that bus, there was like laughter and talking and chatter. And so I ended up doing the last 10K on my own, just walking around Crescent Lake in the Epcot Resort area. But I felt totally from the start, like I accomplished something so big today. I didn't get the finish line or the ears that everyone talks about, but whatever. Like this was an amazing experience. I trained really hard. I ran up to 24 miles. A lot of people can't say they did that in a training cycle. I feel really, really proud of myself. So then I decided, you know what? It was so much fun. I'm totally going to sign up for Dopey. Like, I don't care that I haven't finished a marathon. I don't care that I've tried and haven't finished a marathon. It's fun. Even if you don't make it to the finish line, like, which some people would see as negative, but I actually think it's more negative to think it's only going to be fun if you finish. Look, riddle me that, Batman.
I agree.
Who's negative now? So I think it's more positive that way. So I was like, I'm going to sign up for Dopey 2022. That was this year, right? Yeah, 2022. And we'll see what happens. And if I was pretty sure I'd get through the first 3 races, but you also never know. That's something I learned from Marathon 2020. It's like, yeah, I did all the training. I felt great. And I still got swept because something totally out of my control happened. So let's just go all in for 2022. And so I did great up until the marathon day. I slept we sleep a lot on marathon weekends. Like we did really good, making sure we got 7 hours of sleep the night before the marathon. And I felt really good that day. The only thing that I didn't do was that because we were in the back of the bus again, starting in the last corral, and I knew that I wasn't going to have very much wiggle room with the balloon ladies. So I knew that I wasn't going to have a lot of space to relax. I underhydrated on purpose because I didn't want to have to stop to go to the bathroom. And I think that was I'm pretty sure that was my downfall. So I was doing great for the 2022 marathon up until mile 15. And then I started having all the tummy issues. And ironically, I had not had enough water before the race because I wanted to avoid stopping at the bathroom. But then when your body doesn't have enough water, it does things. And often they involve stopping at every porta potty for a prolonged amount of time. So I was motoring along, still stopping at all my little porta potties, and I knew I could finish the race if I had unlimited time. But the balloon ladies passed me right before Blizzard Beach, which I think is mile 21. It must have been mile 21. I don't think mile 22. I think 22 was after Blizzard Beach because I made it there. And then so they passed me, ended up having to walk another, felt like miles. I think it was only a mile-ish to get to mile 22 and was swept there. But again, honestly, I felt so good because I made it. That feeling of passing mile 20 after my first marathon experience, I was like, all right, Lynn's out. I did it. I'm really happy about this. I don't feel amazing right now because my tummy's upset. And like, I texted Jared and he was amazing and supportive and didn't make me feel bad about it. He checked to make sure I was like physically okay. But he wasn't like, oh no, I'm so sorry. You were just like, okay. I don't think you probably said something along the lines of, I'm glad you're okay. And you did good. And all the nice things you want to hear from someone who loves you. And then like the rest of you this sweeper bus was a little sadder. I don't know if it's because of the year, if the weather wasn't as miserable, or if it's because it was farther. But what I wanted to do was call my parents and be like, you won't believe it, I made it to mile 22. Ah! But it felt like that would be uncouth. No one else around.
Person on the bus.
Yeah, no, people were they're a little more subdued. I was texting, you won't believe it, I made it to mile 22. Got my medal. Everyone was so incredibly nice. And then I got to watch Jared finish the marathon. And that was really fun. And I wore my medal too. And people congratulated me on it. And if they had like done the math and seen that I was wearing a marathon medal but had a dopey bib, they would probably know that I hadn't finished. But people were like, dude, you ran a marathon. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go into details that I ran like 85% of it. But yes, I ran in a marathon today and finished the majority of it. And I'm really stinking proud of myself. So that is my sweeping story. And I love both of them. And I'm signed up for Dopey again. And if I finish all of the miles, great. If I don't, it's going to be fun. 100%.
I love that you said that you called your parents, right? Because my mom tracks me, right, since she's out there at Disney with me, and she texts me when I think she stopped seeing everything, so they'd seen me past the 6.2 mat, and then I had texts when I got back on, and I was like, nope. I said I pulled myself. I'm fine. I'm headed back. They said, but I made it to the 10K mark, and she and my dad were both like, yeah, that's fantastic. We didn't think you were going to make it to the 10K mark because your leg hurt and you weren't feeling well, and I was like, yep, but I got there. So yeah, it's always a good way to look at it that way.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, but you all have accomplished and what I have accomplished. And also, Jared, you as well. Like running any of those miles, however what percentage you get through, it's really incredible. And it shouldn't be something that anyone ever looks down on or makes you feel less than. I say this to myself too. I don't think those marathons were technically DNFs, but there was nothing about them that were failures at all to me.
Agreed.
So. Yeah. And actually, Jared, I know you're moderating. But I had a question.
Go for it.
Okay, because it's actually one of the questions that we had already, but talking about my parents, talking to you guys about like things that people said that were helpful. I think a lot of people, almost everyone I know who has done runDisney knows someone who's been swept, or will know someone who's been swept at some point. And maybe them. Anyone who knows me, you know someone who's been swept. But what were the most helpful things that people said to you after, or how they reacted? And was there anything that, you don't have to name names, obviously, was there anything that people said that wasn't very helpful? Mostly so people watching this can be like, when my friend gets swept, I will try not to say that thing.
I think my thing was when people said, I'm sorry, or if anyone says, I'm sorry, or, oh, you'll finish next time. It's kind of like, I mean, you don't really know. And I'm sorry. It's like, okay. But most people in my life were supportive too. Like I don't really feel like that was the message I was getting from anybody. Everyone was more like, wow, that's awesome. That is so great. You set this goal, you did so well. You went out there. The interesting thing, I am a therapist, a mental health therapist. I also go to therapy because I'm a good therapist who goes to therapy, I guess. And my therapist, when I told her the story, she said, wow, I really love the fact that you listen to your body and we're really connected to your body. Because I was like very connected to what was going on with my body. And for me, that's like a big thing. So that was kind of a success for me as well. But I think that validation from somebody who works with me on a personal level was really phenomenal and just really empowering to me. So other than that, I mean, my husband, of course, was fabulous and wonderful and was like, whatever you want, whatever you need, this is what we're going to do. And he was totally wonderful about it. So, but yeah, don't say I'm sorry. You'll get them next time. Like, don't say those things.
Agreed. Because you might not get it next time. Like,
right.
That's the whole thing. It's being swept isn't an indication that you did something wrong and you just need another shot at it. I might still get swept during Dopey, but it's okay.
Well, not a sweeper story, but just like not finishing. I did a 5K on Saturday and we had just started and there was a gal off to the side in the grass laying down with her friend. And someone asked her, she had twisted her ankle, like hit the sidewalk in a way, like a 1/10 of a mile into a 5K.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. So
Kelly, how about you?
So sort of like Faith, I don't really have anyone who said anything to that I would avoid, right? Like I said, for those who don't know or who might be new, the Run Disney community is actually really, really fantastic community. That's something I wish everyone would realize, right? It's just some of the best people that I've ever met are part of the Run Disney community. And like I said, when I was talking about getting swept, my Run Princess family people, they were all fantastic. They were all great about it. Oh, that's great. I'm glad you got so far. How's your leg? Right? Like it was a lot of that is how are you? Everything's good. Okay, then cool. Let's celebrate what we got. And sort of similar to Faith, right? When I got back from my trip and I went and saw my PT and my PT said, okay, so how'd it go? I said, well, I got swept and here was the issues that I ran into. And he said, okay, cool. He said, that's great. He said, imagine, just think 5 weeks ago, you could only walk a mile. He said, so think about how much mileage that you just got on that leg. So let's fix it and we'll keep working on it. And next time you'll do better. And in that case, right, the do better is more of we're going to get you farther without pain, right? So that part was good. That wasn't an issue for me for him to hear that. So I think that's all really good. I don't really have anything, like I said, that anyone said negatively. I would like to do one quick plug, though, for the Runners Without Limits podcast, because I did listen to the DNF decision podcast that they have that Heather and Jen did with, I think it's Nikki Ostrowski. I'm not sure I pronounced her last name right. But it was a whole podcast I happened to listen to because I knew getting swept was going to be a potential thing. And one of the things that Nikki really mentioned that really helped me on both the front end and the back end is that she said, during one of hers where she got swept, she's supposed to do a full marathon and she pulled to the side because it was a race that split off between a half and a full at a certain point. And so she split off to go to the half and there was an attendant there who said, okay, marathons are to the left. And she said, I can't do the marathon. And he said, that's fine. You're doing a half marathon today. Go this way, right? And she said, just sort of reframing it instead of I couldn't do this today to I did this distance. So I couldn't do the half. And instead of saying I couldn't do the half today, saying I was able to do a 10K 2 days in a row, that just made the whole thing better. So that reframing piece, I think, is really, really key and really important. And if anyone has any questions or concerns on that, I really think that you should go listen to that podcast from the Runners Without Limits.
We're a pretty big fan of that podcast here. Have you ever heard of Coach Heather Jurgensen and Jen Sorensen? Jar Oxen Spoon?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry, that was a vicious question.
They mention slackers every once in a while.
every now and then.
I was going to 100% echo that. I already mentioned, Jared, I wish I remember exactly what you said, but I remember you didn't make me feel like I'd failed something. And I remember after the 2022 marathon, I got to watch Jared finish, and then me and the other slackers minus Justin, because he finished like easily 4 hours before the rest of us anyway, and was back in his room and showered. I know that he had finished long enough before that he watched Jared finish the race from his balcony at the boardwalk, link above. But so is Jared, Jez, MK, Dante may have been there, but it was
Dante was gone.
Maybe not. So it was just the four of us. And I remember, like, of course, everyone asked, like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, just got swept, started moving too slow. And then it was straight to one of, I think, things that runners love to do that we all do is we run a race, and then we spend the next many hours and or days talking about that race we just ran and how terrible it was and all of the like different parts of the race. You know, everything has a story. And I felt like I remember standing there with them, and it was like very seamlessly felt totally included in the, oh gosh, wasn't Blizzard Beach awful? And just the telling the story, even though I didn't finish the race, like they didn't make me feel excluded from being someone who participated in 85%, if not more of it. I also want to echo Faith too, that there isn't anyone like specific I can think of, but when people have that, oh no, I'm so sorry reaction, or for me, when people have said to me that next year will be my redemption year for Dopey, it is so well intended. And for some people I know who actually didn't finish Dopey are referring to 2023 as their redemption year. So for them, it's fine. But for me, when someone tells me they feel sad that I DNF'd again, or when they say next year you can redeem it, it's like, but you don't redeem things you didn't fail, and I don't feel like I failed. So that would be my one caution is, and people who said it was so stressful to watch my tracker, and I was like, no, it wasn't stressful for you. It was probably more stressful for me, but actually it wasn't. So, but in general, it sounds like we all had the same experience of being surrounded by amazing people who knew that we had accomplished something huge, even if it wasn't the exact mileage that where the finish line happened to be. We still accomplished something really, really huge. So
agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, running is weird. It's for most people, it's hard. And just like how we do retell parts of the race, we talk about the awful parts, and many parts of races are awful. Here we are still doing it again and again and again. And it's something that we can do for free, strap on shoes and go outside. But look what we do. We wear dumb things, talking about myself, and travel everywhere, travel different states, and still do. There's something about it that keeps us going back. But like someone asked me, like, do you enjoy running? I'd probably be like, not really. It's just there's more to it than the actual running part. Like I've said before, running is just something we happen to have to do when we go to Disney World. It's a great excuse to go. And of course, we've met a ton of great people that we keep seeing over again after these repeated weekends. So there is something to be said about the community of runDisney runners. And also, just like everyone has their own personal victories that they have during each race and each race weekend. So they can take that and build upon that in whatever way they can. So what
can I, one more last thing. Sorry, Mr. Spoon. I love what both of you said too, that like the day before or even that morning, you kind of had that sense, I don't know if this is going to end at the suggested finish line. I'm now going to refer to finish lines as suggestions. But you both had that sense, and you still started. I love that, Kelly, what your TRPF friend said, like, just get to the first med tent, and like that is awesome for that both of you were like, don't know don't know where the finish line is going to be today. I'm just going to start and find out where it is. Jog, since now you've taken a bite of your cupcake, what were you going to say?
Yeah, let me as I finish this delicious bite of cupcake from the Silos Baking Company in Waco, Texas. And as I drink out of my Atlanta Track Club, this is actually your cup. This is not mine. Mine's in the bag.
There, you can share.
Atlanta Track Club. No endorsement implied, but from these experiences you've had, what advice do you have for other Disney runners who may be concerned about getting swept, or just in general of these races? What knowledge can you drop to these literal dozens of viewers?
So many dozens.
I guess we've already talked about a lot of it. I feel like just, try and get yourself in the best mind frame. Know that you can do what you can do beforehand, and on the day of, it's not all going to be in your control. And that's just sort of something you have to make your peace with if you're going to do these. And then just sort of enjoy it as much as you can, right? As just mentioned, you don't always enjoy all of the running, but if you can enjoy the experience to the greatest extent you can, I think that's going to be your best bet. And a lot of people say trust your training, and I feel like that's really the best you can do going into any race weekend. Is if you've trained for it or you feel like you've trained for it, then you've done what you could do on the front end, and you just got to go with that. And really, really just enjoy it and find people that are, your crew who are going to celebrate with you one way or the other afterwards.
Oh, that made me feel something. I like that. Because yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry.
I agree with everything Kelly said. I feel like you just enjoy the entire experience. I mean, you do have to train. If you want to do the race, especially if you're doing a challenge, if you're doing dopey, which I have not done yet, if you're doing those races, if you're doing long distances, you have to train, because if you don't, you're going to be miserable. I mean, that's just the bottom line. You're going to be miserable during the race. You're going to be miserable after the race. And you don't want to be, because you're at the Disney place and you want to enjoy it. And so if you want to have fun and enjoy that, you do, please train. Just train. Jeff Galloway, Heather Jurgensen. There's so many different things out there. So many different plans out there. Find one that works for you. And then be realistic, be realistic about what you can do, be realistic about where you're at, pay attention to your body, pay attention to what you're doing before the race, the night before, the day before, all the things. And, you've probably heard it a million times, nothing new on race day, unless it's a sparkly red jacket that you have to wear for a costume, then you do something new for race day, yes. But for the channel, because that's important. But yeah, I think that whole aspect of what Kelly said, if you're not enjoying it, if you're not there, then why are you there? That's kind of my thought. Yeah. Go to the expo, have a great time, show up early, dance, meet people, talk to people. I went to the 5K Wine and Dine by myself. I, of course, met the slackers, but when I got to the race, I actually met a woman. I don't remember her name. We talked for like 45 minutes, and she was just this really nice lady, and just we never knew each other. She was there by herself. I was there by herself. We kind of became friends. We ran at different paces. We're in different corrals, so that was kind of that. But meet people, talk to people, enjoy. Maybe you can't stop for the characters, but you can see them. You can see people enjoying the characters. You can see people doing just amazing things. When I was swept and I was sitting there waiting for my husband, one of the things that I saw was this gentleman come off the finish line, and his brother, I believe, came up to surprise them. And behind him were two people holding signs, and it was his parents surprising him at the end of the 10 miler. And I thought, I literally just sat there going, oh, that was just a beautiful moment. And, so you never know when you're going to see something just amazing and beautiful at a race. So I don't know. I love everything about going to races, going to runs. I love the people. I love the crowd. I love the fact that we're all there to do something together. So go and enjoy.
You guys are great. Run Disney is great.
It is.
That's true. I'm even thinking about that. Like, just I'm gonna pay even. I think I do a good job at just enjoying the race for what it is, like paying attention to those little things happening around you. I think there were two pieces of advice or things that I think about if to the little dozens of viewers who may or may not care what I think about being swept. One of them is just purely logistical. I think being swept, like the 2 times I am now, is like really drilled it into me that corral placement is not guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination. And I mean, one of the testaments to that is that Jared and I, for the last several races, except Princess, that we're put in the same corral, and Jared and I run very different speeds. Like Jared is actually quite a lot faster than I am. And he's still, even though we entered in different times on our how fast you expect to run things that are 4-minute paces per mile different, we ended up in the same corral in the back. Sorry, buddy. So you will hear people talk about like, don't pay attention to the balloon ladies and have fun and take as long as you want in Magic Kingdom. And that's great. I definitely believe in having fun, but logistically, I am reminding myself that if I want to have the best shot at finishing before the balloon ladies, I have to train like I'm starting with them. And like I went back recently and looked at my paces for the marathon last year, and my overall pace when I was swept was 16 minutes and 3 seconds. So it wasn't much longer than the 16-minute pace. And there will be people who run an 18-minute per mile pace marathon who will finish at the suggested finish line and get the ears for the marathon. And that's it's nobody's fault. It's just the way it is. But for myself, logistically, I'm reminding myself and anyone else who's interested that if I want to have the best chance at finishing at the suggested finish line, I need to train like I'm starting with them, which means I need to train it faster than a 16-minute mile. But the most important advice that I would have is basically exactly what y'all have said, that I was talking to Jared about this the other night, like looking back on the 2 races and marathon training now in my 3rd time, not knowing if I'm going to finish or not. If there's anything I've learned is that the only thing I actually have control over when it comes to training for a race is the training, because the actual race is 7 hours of 7 months of training. Right. And I don't know what the percentages of that is, but like you living to try and control the outcome of 7 hours could be a big exercise in futility when you have control over what the entire 7 months is going to look like if you have fun. So the biggest loss for me now entering into my 3rd marathon training season is if I don't make this part fun, because this is the only part I actually have control over. So if I'm not having fun with my training, if I'm not doing silly things and being whimsical, at the end of the day, I could still DNF. And then like that would be such a loss. So I want to make sure that no matter what finish line I cross on January 8th, 2023, that I have had a heck of a lot of fun with the training up until then. So I hope you, dozens of viewers, let yourself do the same. And if you need ideas for how to be silly and whimsical in training, link somewhere or there.
Drink milkshakes.
Oh yeah, that actually wasn't whimsical for Jared.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah. There are a lot of variables that can happen, like even during training, but like during the race, that whole week leading up, like if you're doing dopey, there are 4 chances for an ankle to twist or something. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but there could be something you eat that doesn't agree with you on one of those days. But like Kelly said earlier, just like reframing it. If something doesn't go your way, just reframe it and pivot to pivot. Just have to throw that in. If something doesn't go your way, just find a way to make it the best it can be. And I think that's what everyone has pretty much talked about tonight. We have one final question for everyone, and I think it's pretty deep, and that is, what are you eyeing to behold for the 2022-23 Run Disney race season? Faith.
Well, it's official. We're slackers. This is the question. This is the big slacker question, and I'm here for it. I just want you to know. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be at Wine and Dine, and I'm not going to be at Marathon, and I'm not going to see any punch-in princesses at Princess Weekend. I'm eyeing to behold that tomorrow we are going to get an announcement of spring surprise races, and I am hoping they are amazing. I would really love to see Tinkerbell. And so if we did, then I'm definitely doing springtime surprise. But my younger sister lives in Florida. She did the 10K with me in 2019. And I said she was the Anna to my Elsa. And she and I have decided that we're going to do springtime surprise together, provided it's something that we both like. If it's Marvel, we're probably not going to do it. I hate to say, I'll say that, and then it'll be Marvel tomorrow, and I'll say yes, we're still doing it. But so I am eyeing to behold some amazing springtime surprise races. A very easy registration process where I get into all the races that I want to get into, and then an amazingly fun weekend with my younger sister, where we just laugh and have so much fun because that's what we do when we're together. So that's what I'm eyeing to behold. Dopey will happen, but it might be a couple of more years. So
We just want to see you. That's all. We want to give hugs.
well, if you come back to Boulder,
That
Yeah, we probably will.
because that was awesome.
was great.
Yeah.
And sea level
Never-
is for cities after all.
That's right.
How about you, Miss Kelly? What are you eyeing to behold?
Well, I am also honored to be asked what I am eyeing to behold, so thank you. I am actually going for a perfect season with a tiny little asterisk. So I'm signed up for a Wine and Dine, Dopey, and Princess for all of the races except the Wine and Dine 5K at the moment, which I am signed up for as a virtual. Since I am just coming off that injury, I didn't want to put 3 races together if I was going to have to do another simulation shortly thereafter, which I think we have one 2 or 3 weeks later. So I will do my 5K on Disney property on Thursday before or after I go to the expo. I'm not really sure how that's going to work yet. And then I'll do the rest of Wine and Dine. I am currently, I don't want to say fighting because that's too strong a word, but I'm currently debating with my friend from the Corral at Princess on whether or not I really am willing to run in a wig for the 10K, as she wants us to do. It's like a long one that would hang down way back here, which I just feel like is a recipe for a lot of sticky hair and sweat. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, so Wine and Dine and then Dopey, which will also be my first marathon because I am actually thinking that probably I will do one marathon and say, thank you very much. I appreciate that distance, assuming that I, feel good about how I finish it and say, thank you very much. And then move along and maybe have like a half or something along those lines be the major distance I do following that. We'll see. I have friends who told me that that's not going to be the case. I'll be fine and I'll want to do another one, but we'll see how that goes. And then Princess and Springtime. And I too am waiting to see what the springtime distances and races are going to be. I really like the 10-mile distance. Actually, it feels like a push without somehow taking that last 5K off the half marathon just makes such a huge difference. And I'm not really sure why, but it really does. So that's what I am eyeing to behold for the next year.
What about you, Jarvis and Spoon? What are you eyeing to behold for this next runDisney season?
I am eyeing to behold just a lot more fun. It's August right now. It's only like 3 months away from the next runDisney race weekend. And surprisingly, the last time I was at the WDW was springtime surprise. So it's a long stretch for us, unusually, between Disney World trips. So it'll be fun getting back there, finally getting on Guardians and seeing everyone again and just experiencing star groups, start lines, character stops, and finish lines. And I'm eyeing to behold actually finishing with food again. So let's try that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yay. We are eyeing to behold another fun Run Disney year of just incredible people like you guys who I didn't know. We didn't know each other before the 2020, 21, 22 Run Disney season. That was dumb. And now we know each other and we're talking on the internet to dozens of people who are also on the internet. So like, who knows what amazing things this season will bring. We will get to know new people. We will form big core memories. We will find new finish lines, suggested and not. And I am positive that there will be a lot of fun had throughout it all. Part of that is my responsibility because I'm going to make it fun. But I am just eyeing to behold another year's worth of very expensive memories with people that I love. So, amen.
So once again, thank you, Kelly and Faith, for joining us on this edition of Slacker Symposium, which is not the longest Slacker Symposium ever. There are a couple longer ones, but thank you again. And we'll be back again with a new episode of some variety in the next week or so, which I guess I forced myself to put out content in the next week. So until then, like, subscribe, and tell your mom about this.